My name is Lester Patrick. I'm the operations manager at PDSCL Compass Shelter and Supportive Housing in Penticton. I started in 2009 as a casual worker. I worked at the church, Salvation Army Church, and on weekends I was at the Salvation Army Shelter on the corner of Ellis and Nanaimo in Penticton. So yeah, I started there, part casual in 2009. A very different world back then. It was, we had 16 beds. It was all male, no females, and the primary trouble people had was, A, was of course housing, but B was addiction, and it was primarily alcohol. That's all we saw back then. There was a recession as well in 2008, 2009. A couple of years later, we started to see women show up at the shelter for the first time, and that was a huge change. So we transitioned from being all male shelter to male and female. And then as the years progressed, we started to see the drug use hit Penticton, and especially with fentanyl and crystal meth. Those were the big ones that came later, much later on. Yeah, we've seen a dramatic shift in the issue of homelessness in Penticton. They're on a number of fronts, primarily all across the board. For example, the aging population. Not so long ago, we associated homelessness with youth, someone in their 20s or even 30s being down on their luck and not having a job, being stuck out on the streets. But today that's very different. We see a lot of seniors facing homelessness. I'm talking seniors in their 60s, 70s. We've had people in their 80s as well staying here that have basically fallen through the cracks. RCMP have brought them to our door. They found them either sleeping on the beach or sleeping in their car, nowhere to go, no money, no hope, no home, no nothing. And that we've taken them in and tried our best to help them as best we can. We've also seen a lot of physical health issues because, as you know, sleeping on the streets, living rough, it has very much a debilitating effect on your body. It's harsh, and people doing that for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, they can't do it anymore. I've had so many residents come to me and said, I'm not young anymore, I can't do this, I need to come indoors. I need a roof over my head, I need meals, I need to get my life stabilized because I can't survive out on the streets anymore. It's just too rough, it's too much, and it's too dangerous. We've had that. We've had, of course, with the opioid crisis in the province of British Columbia, right across Canada, in fact, that's changed everything as well. Crystal meth is very big too, and we've had dealing with people who are struggling with addiction, and that's been a huge task for us. We respond when there's overdoses, not only on-site, but off-site as well. People that come across someone who's overdosing, they come running to us because they know that my staff is trained and equipped to respond to an overdose immediately. We go there, we respond, we call 911, the ambulance gets there. The paramedics in this town love our service because we know what we're doing. We're quick, we're capable, we fast, and we've saved hundreds and hundreds of lives since we've been opened here. Usually someone comes to the gate or we get a phone call and they check for beds. We are extremely busy all year round. It never used to be like that. In the past we'd have fluctuations where we have busy periods and quiet periods, but those days are long, long gone now. So someone comes to the gate, gives us a call. The only requirement we ask is they're 19 years of age or older. They just bring in limited baggage, like 2 bags. That's all we ask, and no weapons, of course, and that someone just plays by the rules. We have rules and regulations here, and we ask people to abide by them. So they come to the gate, we have a bit of a conversation, we bring them in, we connect them to our staff who connects them to the resources in the community and gets them set up. We bring them into a shared accommodation, like a bunk bed style room. They have shower, they get cleaned up, we feed them meals, we give them laundry services, and we're basically a helping hand for them. We don't, I don't know what the saying is, you know, there's hand out and hand up. We're a hand up type of organization where we help people and we meet people where they're at. Once they get stabilized and everything is good in the shelter here, they have a chance to go to what we call the pods, which are 43 units in the trailer complex we have on site. And there it's a bit more freedom and a bit more privacy, where they get their own little room with a key. And so they're safe, secure, and they can be alone and they can be, you know, be to themselves or not, or come out and socialize. But it's it creates a much greater stability than being in a shared accommodation with others in the shelter. From the pods, we meet with BC Housing and we put forward people we think would do well in supportive housing. We also have supportive housing on site at PDSCL here on the shelter. The PC, and I have someone else running that program, and we bring people in, and it's a paid accommodation, and we set them up. Again, we provide supports, but it's a little more intense, a little more hands-on, and we work with them. And there's no time limit to the supportive housing arrangements we have on site, and someone can stay there as long as they want. But the dream, of course, from many people is to get into market housing. So we've had several success stories over the years where people transition from supportive housing into market housing out in community. Yeah, so something like tiny homes would be ideal for us, in that a person would not only have just a little room, you know, they would be off-site, they would have their own truly a little home that they could have. There would be supports coming in and out. Would it be a lot more freedom and independence for our folks that could transition there? I hear it's a 3-year program, but the 3 years is a long time, and that gives our folks quite a bit of time to get where they need to go, to get to the next stage, to get into market housing. For example, if they're facing any physical health issues or mental health issues, any struggles with addiction, anything that presents barriers that we can break down by having them on such a site as a tiny home project. I think it's a wonderful idea, because being in a unit is great, but having your own home with a lock and a key and your own independent spot where you can rebuild your life, basically, because that's what this is. This is about rebuilding lives that have been broken through either bad choices or bad circumstances or the economy, or there's so many different issues facing our folks. So having a tiny homes project would be a real great stepping stone for people to eventually get stabilized, secure, and move into market housing. No, there is supportive housing. We have that, and which is great. But yeah, a tiny homes project would be even a bigger block, a more secure place for our folks to go. There are, yes, I mean, there are supports will be provided. I mean, people won't just be left to their own devices to survive on their own. I mean, there will be 24-hour staff there. There will be security there. We will have reaching out to resources. For example, the Interior Health will be sending, you know, nurses and outreach people to come in and out and support people for whatever supports they need. And so there'll be a lot of great wraparound services. That's one thing that many people don't know about Penticton. I've worked in this community for years, is that we have terrific supports, terrific people doing those supports as well. Big hearts, hardworking, dedicated folks who provide and really help our folks get to that next stage in their lives. The Housing First model does work. I've seen it, like I said, since 2009, where people are homeless. But once they come in and come into a home environment where their life is suddenly stabilized and secure, and the fear factor is removed from their life, and they built a sense of trust with the people who are working on site. Once those things are established, people change. That's one thing I've seen since, working years and years in this field, is people who don't know who don't work in our field think people never change. And that's so wrong. I've seen incredible success stories due to the supports, the security, the stability of housing, and the people who provide those great resources for our folks. In fact, I've seen people come to our door years later to thank us for saving their lives. I hear that a lot. Thank you for saving my life. If it wasn't for your service, I would be dead right now. And I see them. When I talk to people, I look them straight in the eye, and I can see that they're speaking from the heart, and what they're telling me is true. That we do save lives. And I'm not making this up, but when people come to me 2-3 years down the road, I don't recognize them at all. They've completely changed, and I have to ask them, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. Could you tell me your name again? And then they tell me their name, and I'm shocked, because the transition is just phenomenal. They're a brand new person. And they tell me, about their new life. I'm married, I have children, I've got a steady job, we bought a house last year, life is great, thanks to you. And that just makes everything we do, not only for myself or my staff, so worthwhile. I think so, because the streets of Penticton, the streets not only of this city, but other communities in British Columbia, it's a dangerous spot. I don't know if any of you watching this have ever slept out on the street, even for one night, but how dangerous, incredibly dangerous and scary and frightening it is to be out there. And you're living with that fear factor, you're living in trauma. It's just, I don't know how people survive. It's just unbelievable. But when they come in, everything is changed, because the fear, like I said, the fear is removed, the stability, security is there, and we see lives changed. We see people change.